The Game Boy Advance was officially released in North America on June 11, 2001, and would go on to sell close to 100 million copies over the following decade. Since its initial release, the handheld game console has garnered an impressive library of games, amounting to a total of 1,539 unique titles. Eventually, with the rise of emerging technology like the iPod Touch and Nintendo DS, the Game Boy Advance began to decrease in popularity by the 2010s. Since then, some of the more obscure games that were released for the Game Boy Advance have begun to drastically increase in value. This is the most expensive Game Boy Advance games. The prices mentioned in this video are based on the listed prices found on pricecharting.com. The prices often fluctuate, and the exact prices mentioned in this video are based on what they were at the time of recording. For the purpose of this video, I will be using the listed complete copy price of each game. A complete copy of the game includes the game cartridge, original box, and the game manual. Now that we got that out of the way, let's get started. Car Battler Joe is a vehicular combat game developed by Japanese video game developer Ancient and published by Natsume. The game was released in 2001 and revolves around using cars to fight opponents in battle. In the game, the player controls a 16-year-old named Joe who earns money by battling opponents so that he can buy parts to make his car stronger. In a retrospective, Games Radar listed Car Battler Joe as one of the best games released for the Game Boy Advance. In 2015, the game was re-released for the Wii U's Virtual Console. Today, a complete copy of Car Battler Joe is worth $413.99. Ice 9 is a first-person shooter game that was released in 2005. The game was developed by Taurus Games and published by BAM Entertainment. Originally, the game was meant to be a tie-in for the 2003 spy film The Recruit, but this was later changed after the movie's critical and commercial failure. In the game, the player takes control of a recruit named Tom Carter, who is on a mission to stop the launch of a computer virus called Ice 9. The game was met with mixed reviews and largely faded into obscurity following its release. Today, a complete copy of Ice 9 is worth $450. Sega Rally Championship is a racing game developed and published by Sega. The game was originally released as an arcade game and later released on the Game Boy Advance in 2003. In the game, players can choose from a variety of tracks, cars, and weather conditions for their races. The game is widely recognized as one of the greatest games ever released, and has received several sequels and spin-offs since its initial release. Today, a complete copy of Sega Rally Championship is tied with Ice 9 with an estimated value of $450. Moto Racer Advance is a motocross game developed by Adeline Software International and published by Ubisoft. The game was released for the Game Boy Advance in 2002 as part of the Moto Racer series. In the game, the player controls a motorcyclist and attempts to win races across a variety of terrain and settings. The game was very well received, and IGN even awarded the game 2 awards for Best Graphics and Best Racing Game at the 2002 Electronic Entertainment Expo. Today, a complete copy of Moto Racer Advance is worth $500. DemiKids Dark Version is a role-playing game published by Atlas and released on October 7, 2003. In the game, the player controls a young boy named Jin who accidentally opens a mysterious rift while attempting to summon a demon with his group of friends. I mean, we've all been there, right? The objective of the game is to fight against increasingly difficult enemies while collecting various demons along the way. The game is part of the Shin Megami Tensei media franchise, which continues to be very popular in Japan. Today, a complete copy of DemiKids Dark version is worth $477.48. DemiKids Lite version is obviously the other version of DemiKids released for the Game Boy Advance. While the games are similar, there are actually a lot of differences between the games, including their storyline and difficulty level. The Dark version of the game is far more challenging than the Lite version, while the Lite version of the game features exclusive demons. Today, a complete copy of DemiKids Lite version barely beats out the Dark version at $481.11. This list wouldn't be complete without at least one Pokemon game, and it just so happens to be one of my favorites. Pokemon Emerald is the final game in the third generation of Pokemon games and was released on September 16, 2004. Like most of the Pokemon games, the game was developed by Game Freak and published by Nintendo. By 2007, it was estimated that more than 6.2 million copies of the game had been purchased, making Pokemon Emerald one of the 3 best-selling Game Boy Advance games ever released. Today, a complete copy of Pokemon Emerald is worth $526.14. Ninja 5-0 is an action platform game developed by Hudson Soft and published by Konami. It was released in North America on April 17, 2003. In the game, the player takes on the role of a ninja as he attempts to stop a powerful terrorist group. The game received numerous positive reviews upon its release, but ultimately the game was a commercial failure. As a result, copies of the game eventually became extremely rare, and the game is now regarded by collectors as one of the most sought-after handheld games in existence. On February 21, 2024, an announcement was made that the game would be re-released for the Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 4, and PlayStation 5 consoles. Today, a complete copy of Ninja 5-0 is worth $702.77. Pocky Rocky with Becky is a shoot-'em-up game that was originally released on October 18, 2002. The game was developed by Altron and published by Natsumi Inc. In the game, the player can play as Pocky, Rocky, or Becky as they attempt to defeat a Hydra. The game was met with mixed reviews following its release, and the most recent Pocky Rocky game, Pocky Rocky Reshine, was released in 2022 on the Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 4, Xbox Series X, and PC. Today, a complete copy of Pocky Rocky with Becky is worth $960. Robopon 2 Cross version was released simultaneously with another version of the game called Robopon 2 Ring version. Both games are role-playing games and were developed by Red Company and published by Atlas. In the games, the player takes control of a kid named Cody who attempts to become the Robopon champion of Majiko by collecting X-Stones and challenging rank holders. The games are very similar to the Pokemon games and are sequels to a Game Boy Color game called Robopon Sun. Today, a complete copy of Robopon 2 Cross version is worth a whopping $1,025. By comparison, a complete copy of Robopon 2 Ring version is worth a much less impressive $230. The Nintendo Game Boy Advance is one of the most successful handheld gaming consoles ever released. With well over 1,000 titles to choose from, the revolutionary console offered players endless hours of entertainment at their fingertips. As some of the games have continued to rise in value, so has the devoted community of collectors who remain a testament to the power of nostalgia. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please like it and consider subscribing to my channel for more videos coming out soon. Leave any suggestions for future videos in the comment section down below. See you next time.